All right, everyone, get ready because today we are going deep, deep into the world of business,
Ooh, exciting.
isn't it? We got a listener request to really break down the different types of businesses that are out there, what their goals are, how they're managed.
Right.
Now, I know this might sound a little dry on the surface,
Uh-huh.
but trust me, we're going to find some really interesting stuff here.
I think so too.
We've got some excerpts here from a text, very creatively titled Pasted Text.
Okay.
And let me tell you, this is it's a bit of a rabbit hole.
It can be, yeah.
I'm excited to get into it.
Me too.
Okay, so the source starts out by talking about how there are just so many different types of businesses out there.
Yeah.
It's really kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is.
There's such a variety, like everything from that one-person show, the sole trader, right?
Yeah.
Like, maybe the amazing baker in your neighborhood
Yes.
who makes those incredible cupcakes. That could be a sole trader.
Absolutely.
Then you've got, partnerships. I
Yeah.
always think of like Ben and Jerry's starting out as a partnership,
right.
private companies.
Yeah.
Those are a little more exclusive.
Yeah.
Maybe like your favorite local brewery that hasn't,
Yeah.
gone public yet.
Exactly.
And then, of course, you've got the big public companies that are,
Obviously.
on the stock exchange. Everyone knows their names.
Yeah.
It's a whole world.
It is a whole world.
And the thing is, each one of these structures has its own advantages and disadvantages,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
So like, for instance, a sole trader, right? They've got like all the control.
Right.
They can be super flexible,
Mhm.
but on the flip side, they're personally on the hook
Yes.
for all the debts of the business.
Exactly. Yeah. All the liability
Right, so-
if something goes wrong.
Whereas like a public company,
Yeah.
it can raise money more easily by selling those shares.
Right.
But then, of course, they've got all those investors breathing down their neck.
Exactly. And the regulators.
And the regulators, right, exactly.
get all the reporting requirements.
Yeah, so it's a trade-off. It's a
Just
trade-off. Like,
Yeah.
choose your adventure, but in the real world, right?
Totally.
Okay, so besides just making money, right, because I think a lot of people, when they think of business,
Yeah.
they just think, okay, the goal is to make money.
Of course.
But what are some of the other things that businesses are working towards?
You're right. Profit is definitely a primary goal,
Right.
but it's not the only thing. Businesses also want to increase their market share, so basically getting a bigger piece of the pie than their competitors.
Right, like dominating their field.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They also want to improve efficiency and effectiveness, so doing more with less and making sure they're meeting the expectations of their shareholders.
Right, the people who have invested in them.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But the source also mentions fulfilling market and social needs.
Oh, interesting.
So it's not all about just profits and shareholders.
Okay, so there's more to it.
Yes, definitely.
Unpack that for me a little bit. What does that mean?
Well, it basically highlights the growing importance of social responsibility.
Okay.
Businesses are starting to realize that they have a role to play beyond just making money.
Uh-huh.
They're becoming more mindful of their impact on the environment, their employees, and the community as a whole.
So like companies that donate to charities or, try to reduce their carbon footprint.
Exactly. Think about a company like Patagonia. They're known for building environmental and social responsibility right into their business model.
Right.
It's about finding that balance between profit and purpose.
So we've got all these different types of businesses, each with their own set of goals.
Yeah,
And now we're throwing social responsibility into the mix.
we are.
This sounds like kind of a complicated juggling act.
It can be, absolutely.
And that's where I think things get really interesting. Because this is where the concept of stakeholders comes into play, right?
Yes,
Businesses don't just exist in a vacuum.
right.
They're part of this complex web of relationships
Absolutely.
with all these different stakeholders
Exactly.
who have a vested interest in what they're doing.
For sure.
It's kind of like a spider web, right? All these threads connecting.
Yeah, it's a great analogy.
So who are some of these stakeholders besides like the CEO who everyone always thinks of?
Well, you've got the owners, of course.
Right.
They want to see a return on their investment. That's kind of the whole point.
Yeah, of course.
But you've also got the employees who are relying on that company for their livelihood.
Right. Their paycheck.
Exactly. And then the customers,
Yeah.
they expect good products and services at a fair price, right?
Right.
And then let's not forget the suppliers.
Oh,
The
yeah.
companies that provide the raw materials or the components that the business needs to actually operate.
Okay. Yeah.
And even the local community where the business is located,
Right.
they have a stake in the success of that business.
So everyone's kind of interconnected in
Absolutely.
this ecosystem.
Yeah.
Okay, but wouldn't you run into some conflict trying to please all those different stakeholders?
Oh, absolutely.
Because, I mean, they're all going to have different priorities, right?
Exactly. You're always going to have those competing interests.
Right.
Think about it. A company might be considering whether to invest in a new factory.
Okay.
The owners might be pushing for it because they see it as a way to boost profits.
Right.
But what if that new factory is going to have a negative impact on the environment?
Yeah.
The local community might not be so thrilled about that.
Right. So it's like a balancing act.
It is. It's about finding that sweet spot where you can meet the needs of as many stakeholders as possible without compromising your core values.
Okay, well, how do you even do that?
Well, that's where the idea of ethical decision-making comes in.
Okay.
Businesses are increasingly recognizing that it's not just about what's legal,
Right.
it's also about what's right.
So there's a moral component.
Absolutely. And remember our conversation about corporate culture.
Right.
That plays a huge role here.
Yeah, because if your culture is all about profits at any cost,
Right.
then, the ethical considerations might...
Exactly. A company with a strong ethical culture is more likely to make decisions that prioritize the well-being of all its stakeholders,
Right.
even if it means giving up some short-term profits.
Okay, that makes sense. But how can you tell if a company is really walking the walk when it comes to ethics and social responsibility?
Well, the source suggests looking beyond their mission statement and their PR campaigns.
Right, because everyone says...
Everyone says they're doing good things.
Yeah.
You have to look at their actions. Are they actually investing in sustainable practices?
Okay.
Are they treating their employees fairly?
Uh-huh.
Are they giving back to the community?
Okay, so concrete evidence.
Exactly, not just empty words.
But how do you really get a sense of what's going on inside a company? I mean, most of us don't have access to their board meetings.
Right, you're not going to be privy to all their internal discussions.
Exactly.
But there are some clues you can pick up on.
Okay.
The source talks about paying attention to a company's symbols.
Symbols? What do you mean?
These are the things that represent the company's values and beliefs.
So, like, their logo and their, like, marketing materials.
That's part of it, but it goes deeper than that.
Okay.
Think about their office environment.
Okay.
Is it open and collaborative? Or is it closed off and hierarchical?
Interesting.
What about the dress code? Is it formal and conservative? Or is it more casual and creative?
Okay, so you can kind of get a sense of their vibe from those things.
Exactly. And don't forget about the rituals and ceremonies they practice.
Rituals like what?
The events and traditions that reinforce their values.
So, like, company holiday parties or, like, team building exercises?
Precisely. Think about the messages those events are sending. Are they focused on individual achievement, or is it more about teamwork and collaboration?
Right.
Are they stuffy and formal, or are they fun and engaging?
So even something like a company party can reveal a lot about their culture.
Absolutely. And then you've got the company's heroes.
Euros.
The people who are held up as role models.
Okay.
The ones whose stories are told and retold to inspire employees.
So, like, if their top salesperson is known for being cutthroat and ruthless,
Exactly.
that tells you something about their values.
Even if they claim to be all about ethics and integrity,
Right.
actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, okay. And then the last thing the source mentions is the level of staff participation in decision-making.
That's a big one.
So a company that truly values its employees will actually listen to them.
Exactly. They'll encourage them to share their ideas and give feedback.
Okay.
They'll create opportunities for open dialogue and collaboration. They'll empower their employees to make decisions and take ownership of their work.
So we've got symbols, rituals, heroes, and employee participation.
Those are all clues.
Clues to help us decode the company's true culture.
Exactly. And understanding that culture is crucial because it tells you how a company is likely to behave.
Right.
How they'll treat their employees, their customers, the environment, everyone.
This is fascinating.
Isn't it?
It's like we're learning to read between the lines
You are.
and see those hidden messages that businesses are sending.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but it feels like we're just scratching the surface.
We are. There's so much more to explore.
Yeah, I mean, how do all these pieces fit together? The business structures, the objectives, the stakeholders,
Yay.
the management styles, the corporate culture.
It's all connected.
How does it all come together to create a successful and ethical business?
That's the million-dollar question.
All right, welcome back, deep divers.
Back for more.
We've been on quite a journey here,
We-
exploring the ins and outs of the business world.
The inner workings.
Yeah, and we've talked about so many different things, right?
Yeah.
We've looked at the types of businesses. We've talked about their goals, those stakeholders. Remember that web?
The web of relationships.
Yeah, and then we even got into management styles and corporate culture.
Right, the whole shebang.
So how does it all fit together?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it?
It is. It's like we've got all these pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And now we gotta figure out how to put it all together.
Assemble it.
Right, exactly.
See the big picture.
So let's go back to our source here, pasted text.
Okay.
And see what it has to say about how all of this connects.
Sounds good.
So remember all those different types of businesses we talked about?
I do.
Sole traders, partnerships, private companies, public companies,
Right.
social enterprises, even government businesses.
Right.
Each one has its own advantages and disadvantages, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And choosing the right structure for your business.
Right.
It's really important. It depends on a lot of factors. Like the size of the business, the industry it's in, how much control the owners want, their risk tolerance, all sorts of things.
It's like I don't know, it's like choosing the right vehicle for a road trip.
Okay. Yeah.
You wouldn't take like a tiny sports car on a cross-country trip with tons of luggage.
You'd need something bigger.
Yeah, you need something bigger, more robust.
Exactly.
And it's the same with business. Like if you choose the wrong structure, you're going to run into roadblocks down the line.
Absolutely. It can really hinder your growth and your success.
Okay, so once you've got that foundation, right, that structure, then you got to figure out where you're going.
Set those objectives.
Right, those objectives, those goals.
Yeah.
And we talked about, making a profit, obviously.
Of course, that's usually the top priority.
Increasing market share, getting a bigger piece of the pie.
Right, being the leader in your field.
Improving efficiency, doing more with less.
Working smarter, not harder.
Right, and keeping those shareholders happy, right?
The people who have invested in the company, yeah.
But we also talked about fulfilling those market and social needs.
We did.
And I think that's really important.
It is. It's a growing trend.
Yeah, like businesses are realizing they have this bigger responsibility than just making money.
Absolutely. They're part of a larger system.
Yeah.
And their actions have an impact.
Right, like ripple effects.
Exactly.
So then we got to bring the stakeholders back into it.
Yeah, all those different groups with a vested interest.
Right, the owners, managers, the employees.
Customers, suppliers, the community.
It's like trying to keep everyone happy at a family reunion.
Oh, I like that analogy.
You got all these different personalities, all these different needs, and sometimes those needs clash.
Then they do.
So how do businesses manage that?
Well, this is where ethical decision-making becomes so important.
Okay.
It's not just about what's legal, it's about what's right.
So going back to that moral compass.
Exactly. And the company's culture really sets the tone for how they're going to handle these things.
So a company that has a strong ethical culture is more likely to really think about the well-being of all those stakeholders.
Absolutely. Even if it means maybe not making as much money in the short term.
Right. It's like choosing the long game.
It is.
Over a quick win.
Exactly.
But how do you actually do that?
How do you balance all those interests?
Yeah.
Well, this is where those management styles and skills we talked about become so crucial.
Yeah.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
A good leader has to be adaptable.
So a CEO who's, crushing it at a fast-paced tech startup might not be the best fit for like a more traditional manufacturing company.
Exactly. Different contexts call for different approaches.
And even within the same company.
Yeah.
You might need different styles for different departments.
Absolutely.
And then all those skills we talked about, remember?
Communication, delegation, planning.
Decision-making, building relationships.
Yeah. All of that becomes even more important when you're dealing with all these different stakeholders.
It's kind of like a conductor leading an orchestra.
Oh, I love that.
Right. They've got to understand each musician, the nuances of each instrument, and how to bring it all together to create, this beautiful symphony.
The masterpiece.
Right, and a good leader. They can do the same thing with a business.
They can orchestrate success.
Not just financial success, but like success in terms of
making a positive impact.
Yeah, making a positive impact on the world.
Absolutely.
So it all comes full circle, right?
It does.
The structure, the objective, the stakeholder.
The management styles, the culture.
It's all connected.
It's all part of the tapestry.
Yeah. Wow. We've covered a lot in this deep dive.
We have.
And, hopefully our listener out there who wanted to know more about business now has a better understanding of what it's all about.
A solid foundation.
But this is really just the beginning.
It is. There's always more to learn.
Yeah, keep exploring, keep questioning.
Stay curious.
So, on that note, that's a wrap for this deep dive.
Thanks for joining us.
We hope you enjoyed it.
Until next time.
Stay curious.